Hello and welcome back to the Indie Hour. It's Ryan. Before we get into music, I think it's important to talk about the shooting of Jacob Blake. It was an unarmed black man who was fired on 7 times by a white officer in Wisconsin. 4 shots connected. Luckily, Jacob survived, but he is currently paralyzed and may never walk again. So, going into this, I think my biggest feeling towards this is anger. There's feelings of sadness and a little bit of shock, but the biggest thing is anger. And it comes from a couple different areas. It comes from a couple different things. First off, how the police officer handled this. With an unarmed person like that, an officer should never feel like firing 7 shots on an unarmed man. That's something you should almost never do. But the cop is still to blame for this incident, but a lot of the blame has to be put on some of the training the training that they receive and how focused on weapons it is, which is incredibly flawed. Police are also asked to do way too much in this country. This situation that brought the officer on scene was a domestic issue, where a social worker could have been, brought onto the scene, and more likely than not, a person would not have ended up fighting for their life and have people around them, around that person, wondering if he's ever going to walk again. The final thing I'll just kind of bring it to is, the final big point is when I spoke about George Floyd, I wanted to construct, this conversation that I'm having now in a similar way. But as I was doing that, I just got this pit in my stomach. And I realized that these were 2 different and unique lives. And in a way, I and probably other people are just viewing this as an instance of police brutality. And it's really messed up to me if thinking about it like that these people are just numbers. If you get nothing out of this, I want you to think about a black person in your life. It could be your closest friend or a partner or, someone throughout history. And think about how different your life would be without that person. In the description, I have a variety of different sources that I think are useful because, I sure as hell do not have all the answers to these problems and to these changes. There are people and organizations out there that have dedicated their lives to this kind of work, so please check those out. Transitioning to music, when I originally started, making a focus to include at least one black or person of color on my playlist, and I honestly have dropped the ball on that. So for my August recap, I'm including a black artist who had a phenomenal August release, and that is Thundercat, who is just a mind-melting bass player. He released a new album during August, and that's where this playlist, that's why this playlist is going to seem a little different, is because I basically missed August. I missed recording this show during the month of August. If you're interested to why I missed some time, you can check out the most recent video I did 2 Sundays ago. So what the playlist and the rest of the show is going to be about is highlighting some big releases in the month of August. So first big release I want to talk about comes from a band that has a very big following in the scene, and that of course is Whitney. They released their new album on the 14th, and really liked this one. It has super catchy vocals, and this folk style you hear throughout the album. It's just so well done. It all plays together really well. An artist that I actually discovered during the month of August that I want to talk about is Sophie Meyer. She is not only a singer and songwriter, but she is a graphic designer. So on top of great, really kind of funky sound, she provides these fantastic visuals for her work. Another band who I want to talk about, who kind of toes the line with indie and emo music, is a band called Bright Eyes. And they have a new album out, and I had a very dear friend of mine talk my ear off about them when they're at their album released. And I think the best way I can break it down for you is they definitely have an indie sound. So as far as the instruments and the overall structure of the song goes, I would definitely say it fits into the indie category. But where I think the emo elements come in is those vocals. So if you're looking for some emo ear candy, then turn to Bright Eyes, man. They are a great band. So final big one I do want to talk about is a band that I think definitely has an indie sound, and that would be The Killers, who have been, man, they've been going for 15 plus years. It's honestly just nice at this point to get some new music from them. I do really like the theme of this new album, which is the desert. I think it fits super well with the lead singer Brandon Flowers' style. There are definitely some songs on this that really didn't do anything for me. I definitely think there's some songs that, like, either I won't be replaying or kind of skipped over. But there's still some highlights on this album that I do recommend checking out. Of course, if you're a Killers fan, you should check this one out. But those are my picks for August. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. It'll be, of course, back to business for this Sunday's episode. And yeah, be sure to check out that. So that's all I got for this week. You'll hear from me next week.